What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. There's major craziness going on here across the country with the announcement of President Biden's executive order of $10,000 for student loan forgiveness for over 43 million Americans and $20,000 of student loan forgiveness for the lowest income Americans who are recipients of Pell Grants. And we're getting a lot of basically just craziness across the United States here as people are taking it in. Also, we're getting some information that Republicans in Congress may try to challenge this in court, which would be, again, even more craziness. Now, if we go back, former President Donald Trump did something similar with an executive order. Former President Donald Trump, if we go back to before the last election, he did an executive order for $600, or I'm sorry, well, I got to go back here. We originally had $600 per week unemployment underneath former President Donald Trump. But when he did the executive order, he did it for $300 per week unemployment bonuses, and then states were able to add in $100 per week unemployment. Okay, he did this with the disaster relief funds that were there, already approved stimulus money or Congress money, basically already approved money. Okay, and money that was approved by Congress that was sitting there in congressional funds, bank accounts. Okay, and he did an executive order to move it and say, hey, I want to send this out to millions of Americans. Okay, and the Americans that benefited from it were for unemployed Americans. Okay, so former President Donald Trump did this with an executive order. Okay, so again, this is one of those programs. Not everybody got it. The Americans who got it at that point were unemployed Americans. Okay, a lot of these programs, not everybody gets it. In that case, it was unemployed Americans. I mean, it was, I don't know, tens of millions of Americans at that point. And former President Donald Trump did an executive order. Democrats could have challenged it in a court of law. I remember reporting this to you guys on the channel here, and I remember saying I think it would be a bad move for Democrats to challenge it because it's before an election. If Democrats do that, it really looks bad for them. Imagine sending that message to millions of Americans saying, we want to take this money out of your pockets. And it just doesn't send the right message to all those people. And I'm going to say the same thing here right now to Republicans, because again, I said, if you can literally go back and watch my videos, I said the same thing to Democrats then. I'll say the same thing to Republicans now. I think it would send the wrong message to 43 million Americans if Republicans go and challenge this in a court of law, saying we don't think that you should get this help, this aid, this stimulus, this um, similar to how that unemployment bonus money, those stimulus checks, whatever you want to call them, that executive order money came from the president. Now this executive order money is going to go to 43 million Americans, and if the Republicans challenge it in a court of law, and let's say it does get stricken down or struck down, I just don't. How to imagine if 43 million people think they're going to get it, and then what if it does get struck down by, say, the Supreme Court, who is a Republican majority, by the way? I don't know if that's going to happen, but imagine if it does happen. And imagine those voters then going into a midterm election, how upset they would be with the Republicans. Yeah. And we'll also talk about who's going to pay for this, who's going to pay for all these student loans being forgiven here. And here's some of the reactions going on right now. I've seen a lot of reactions here in the comments section. Particularly, some people saying it's unfair if they're not getting it. But you got to remember here that there's a lot of programs that go on here that not everybody benefits from. This is how programs have been from the beginning of time. We have food stamp programs, we have paycheck protection program, we have student loan forgiveness programs, we have the unemployment bonus programs. We have all sorts of different programs here. In fact, we'll go with this a couple of different point of views here. Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says that student loan forgiveness is, quote, completely unfair, despite the fact that her company had loans worth $183,000 forgiven from the Paycheck Protection Program underneath former President Donald Trump. So again, this is kind of where, I don't know, you can call it hypocrisy or what, but she's mad that the $10,000 or $20,000 for the lowest income Americans of student loan forgiven, she's calling it completely unfair when she got $183,504 forgiven for a Paycheck Protection Program for her company loans underneath former President Donald Trump in 2020. Marjorie Taylor Greene's company had these loans forgiven in the Paycheck Protection Program according to public data. She says, quote, there should not be a system in place that allows them and encourages them to pile up massive debt in these big colleges and universities. While I agree with her there, when these universities cost $25,000 to $50,000 per year, how else are the average everyday Americans going to afford them? Unless they get scholarships, full-blown scholarships, which a lot of Americans don't get, how else would you afford to go to college? There's really no other way. A person, I mean, years ago you could work through college, but now if college and the average cost, including room and board, can get up to $50,000 a year, you can't work your way through $200,000 in 4 years of college. You just can't. It's too expensive. It's just too much. The other problem here with this is, and I've showed this before, and I actually still have it on my desktop because it's just kind of stuck with me. And I don't have any student loans, and neither does my wife. Just for clarification, we actually paid off my wife's student loans. So I could be one of those people that could be mad about this, but I'm not that type of person. I'm the type of person that tends to be happy for people because I want to see people who need help get it. And this is going to be people who are low and middle income people. And anybody who makes less than 100 or anybody who makes over $125,000 doesn't get any help. They don't get anything from this. You can see this here back from a few months ago. This guy on Twitter said, I'm 27 years old. I have $120,000 in debt from an undergraduate degree. I've been paying almost $1,000 a month, $970 a month, every single month for 5 years. And of that nearly $60,000 I've paid in that time, only $2,000 of that has gone towards my loan or my principal because of interest. I ask again, how was this ever legal? So remember, this guy's going to have $10,000 canceled from his debt. So it's going to bring it from $120,000 to $110,000. He's still going to be in the same basic position. It's going to cancel a little bit. It's going to help this guy a little bit. It's going to help a lot of people that maybe have 10 or 20,000, 30,000. But this shows you the picture of people. This guy's paying $12,000 a year in student loan payments. The average payment is $5,000 a year, about $400 a month. And this is the problem here is this guy pays $12,000 a year and 90% of it goes to interest. It's really tough for a lot of people. People pay on this for decades and barely make a dent into their payments. So it's not like just pay your loans, deadbeat. The problem is how crushingly hard it is to pay off these loans. By the way, I want to add this in here. I've got a lot of questions here. It's not just graduates. Borrowers currently in college are eligible for Biden's $10,000 in student loan forgiveness, or $20,000 if you're a Pell Grant, basically a very low income earner. So, yes, it is for people who are currently in college as well. Those specific details of the president's broad loans eligibility might be based on your parents' income. It's 125,000 for single parents, 250 for married couples and head of households. For independent students, they'll be based on their own annual income during the pandemic. Nearly 8 million current borrowers may see loan relief automatically since relevant income data is already available. But an application will also be accessible no later than by the end of the year for all other borrowers, according to the U.S. Department of Education. I'll be giving you more and more info as we learn here going forward. Even billionaire Mark Cuban from Shark Tank backs Biden's plan to forgive $10,000 in student loans, saying it has to be fixed. That he supports the plan by President Biden that would cancel $10,000 in federal student loans per borrower and $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients, which are the lowest income people. And then he says that the student loan forgiveness could boost the economy, but he suggests that the problem should be fixed by addressing the ridiculous tuition fees from colleges and universities. And I do believe that is something we need to fix. Remember that back in a previous version of the Build Back Better package, they wanted to provide 2 years of free community college, but that fell through because of, well, good old Senator Joe Manchin. So maybe that is something that can be passed in a future plan. I'll keep you up to date. We'll have to see here. So that would provide a free college option. Remember that the vast majority of first world countries actually provide university for free, or at least some version of it. We're one of the sad versions of first world countries. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, where we charge $100,000 or $200,000 for our next generation, our children, to go to college. And then we expect them to pay it off for decades. And then we get mad at our children and our adults now who get $10,000 of forgiveness. It's just a really sad system. Yeah. You can let me know your thoughts here in this. But yeah. And by the way, okay, so here we'll go with the next thing here. Who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay for all this? Well, really, the government is flush with cash right now. In fact, this is the first time ever that this has ever happened. I'll show you here. So this program is expected to cost around $300 billion, but the Biden administration is forecasting a over $1.03 trillion deficit, which means they're paying down the federal deficit, the federal debt, which was at around $30 trillion. So this is now down an additional $400 billion. Here's the details of this. The Biden administration is forecasting that this year's budget deficit will nearly be $400 billion lower than it estimated back in March. This means paying down the deficit, paying down the federal debt, due in part to stronger than expected revenues, reduced spending, and an economy that has recovered all of the jobs lost during the multi-year pandemic. Unemployment is at a 50-year low of 3.5%. In full, this year's deficit, or the federal deficit or the federal debt, will decline by $1.7 trillion this year. So they've paid down the federal debt by $1.7 trillion, representing the largest single decline in the federal deficit in American history. The Office of Management and Budget says, so this is a nonpartisan office of the government, just like the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. So this is basically, these are mathematicians, these are accountants, and they're just guys that do the bookkeepings. Okay, so not only are they going to be able to pay for this and all the other bills that have passed this year, but they're actually paying down the federal deficit by $1.7 trillion. Despite the gains, the administration said Tuesday that it is forecasting a deficit of $1.03 trillion for the budget and the fiscal year that ends September 30th. That number signifies a movement away from the record deficit, or the record debt, maybe we should say, here in 2020 that reached $31.3 trillion. That was back when former President Donald Trump was president. He ran up the deficit about $8 trillion. Not picking sides or anything, just kind of that's what happened. And much of this was from transitioning from a historic and rapid recovery to stable and steady growth. A lot of this is because a lot of people went back to work. Whatever reason you think that is, you guys can let me know in the comments. There is, however, a lot of inflationary pressures going into 2023. The president's top economic priority is tackling inflation, which is still really, really high. These projections do not include the $280 billion CHIPS and Science Project Act. I believe that was not paid for at all. And it does not include the estimated $740 billion Inflation Reduction Act. That bill, however, will reduce the deficit approximately $300 billion because it's more than paid for, that bill. So that bill is more than paid for and will actually reduce the budget as more. So I just as a quick kind of overview glance, I guess it would maybe kind of pay for this CHIPS bill, but this CHIPS bill was not paid for. So it was a bill that they just passed and didn't pay for. If that kind of gives you an idea of all the different things going on in Congress. So, and really you gotta think about what's coming next, what might be coming forward here more. Now 43 million Americans just got a major stimulus boost to their pockets. I think about 20 million Americans got their student loan debts completely wiped out. Who's paying for it? Well, the amount of tax revenues coming in are overwhelmingly more than the government is paying for the government budget. So the government has a huge, massive surplus amount of money for the first time ever. So the government has a plethora of money to use for this type of stuff. So in past years, almost 99% of years recently, the government was running negative. Okay, they were spending more than they were making, and that's why the deficit kept going up to $31 trillion. Now, for like the past year and a half or so, since maybe like the past year, since unemployment has started going down dramatically, the government has been running a surplus and has been able to pay down the deficit. So now there's a lot of money there. So they're able to basically do programs like this and not run up the deficit at all. So you can let me know your thoughts here on that. So going forward, there's going to be a massive SNAP conference here coming in September. That can affect people's food stamps and food SNAP benefits. That's again another 40 million Americans. Hopefully, we'll see a large raise for that. They might redo the program. We'll have to see what they're going to do on that. They can also do that as well without Congress. Pretty sure that they could just do that through their authority with that. And also, we're seeing all these states do stimulus programs as well. There's about half of the states doing this as well. And what else might we see here coming? You know, this was a large thing here for about half the Americans, or about 40 million Americans. And again, if you read our comments here, we're just a large, really family, community. I prefer to be happy for people either way. I was happy for people that got unemployment bonuses. I was happy for people that got paycheck protection program bonuses. I'm happy for people when they get SNAP bonuses. I'm happy for people when they get SNAP bonuses every month. I'm happy for people in general when they get rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. So, in fact, I'll link you to that here at the end of the video. Sometimes I say that, at least I say they're down in the description. But sometimes I forget to link them at the end of the video. But, you know, I think we should be happy for our common fellow man when somebody gets help, not be mad at them. Because honestly, if you look back over the course of time, there's all sorts of different programs. There's a paycheck protection program, unemployment benefits, SNAP program, food assistance, all these different kind of, child tax credits, student loan forgiveness. It's all sorts of different programs going on. And you can't always be mad when somebody gets help when they need it. Because it's not always going to be a program for you. It's just how it is. So, um, don't hate. Hate's not a good thing. It's just be happy for your fellow man. And honestly, this is going to be a really good thing here for a lot of Americans going forward. Just like when former President Donald Trump did his executive order for millions of Americans, same thing. It didn't benefit me. I was happy for all those people. They were unemployed Americans who had just lost their job. I was happy for all them because again, they were people they were hurting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here. Here's my videos you can click next for a video assistance that may help you. You can click this top video up here for rent assistance. You can get your rent paid by the last stimulus package. This bottom video here for homeowners assistance. You can get your home payment paid if you're low income or behind on payments. This top video here for utility assistance for utilities, and this bottom video here for my newest stimulus video. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.